How appropriate. Please welcome to BraveWords, Streaming for Vengeance, Mr. KK Downing. How you
Hey,
doing,
Tim,
sir?
hey, Tim, brave words, all the listeners out there. Big hello, all the way from the UK here. Hope everybody's doing good today.
Yes, absolutely. Hey, it's a good day when you wake up.
Absolutely, man. As long as you don't wake up dead, right?
Exactly. To quote a great Megadeth song. So we are talking about this glorious debut. Actually, this is you signed this a few years ago, so I do have the lovely embossed one. But can we just take a step back? Because correct me if I'm wrong. Let's see if the interweb is correct. It was March the 6th, 1971, that it was your first gig in Essington at St. John's Hall. So a few years before this came out. Tell me about that moment.
Oh, yeah. Well, exciting times, really. I think we were kind of put the band together in '69. A lot of people know, even before then, when I was younger, I auditioned for Judas Priest and didn't make it. And a year later, Al, the singer, Al Atkins, came to the rehearsal rooms and saw myself and Ian and John doing all of this progressive, crazy stuff, banging out these metal riffs, and Al asked if he could join, and that was great then because then we had to set about myself and Al starting to put some songs together for the band to play live.
Right.
And because everything was kind of new, because what they were doing before, I think, was predominantly blues orientated stuff.
Right.
And so we worked at that in 1969, and it was exciting times. And obviously, by the time uh, some time moved on, when we were eventually ready, we got together. I did that first show, and I think we got £6 for playing the show, but it was great. Um, Lots of fans there. Um, some of the girls were trying to dance to the music, which was virtually impossible, but they gave it a good go. You know, uh, in the hot pants. You remember hot pants, Tim?
Yes, I do remember hot pants. And a lot of the Judas Priest videos had hot pants too.
Yeah. So I'm trying to look at the guitar, but it was hard work. You know what I mean? But yeah, somehow the gig went well, and we were all very enthusiastic and young and enthusiastic. But we knew that we were enjoying playing the song, so it was all good.
So apparently you guys were disappointed when you heard the record.
Yes, because we'd recorded all the songs and it sounded great, great, great. We were all happy with it, did the mixes and everything. But inevitably, the final session was like one of those kiss of death sessions. You know, you always had this marathon because the money had run out and the time had run out. And so we had to work all through the night. And Roger, bless him, had fell asleep on the couch. But he woke up and we said, Roger, it's done. We've done the final mixes, all good. And then he took the two-track masters, went upstairs into a very small cutting room at Olympic, not Olympic, it was Island Studios, and very famous studios in London, and uh, and mastered the record, and gave us all a vinyl, not a vinyl, an acetate to take home with us. And of
Right.
course, when we got back home and played it, we thought, oh dear, something's gone wrong here. And inevitably, it was probably on the cards that something was going to go amiss. Um, and so that was it, really. We suffered. We suffered that. We should have said, no, 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 we can't allow this to go out. But apparently it was all too late. It had to be what it was. And like my good old friend Roy Z, a great producer and a player in his own right,
Love him. Love
said
him.
to me, said to me, KK, he said, it is what it is. A record's never finished, but at some point you've just got to let it go and hand it over. And he's absolutely right, you know. Um, but uh, but but now things are different. We had the opportunity to resurrect what we knew was in the recordings and do what we feel was justification to the songs, and at the same time keeping the integrity of the antique, which it is, half a century old, you know. and and so I think Tom Allen's done a really good job with that, because it must keep, you know, it must always be that record that sounds like it was recorded in the early 70s. And I think that that's what we've got now, and hope everyone out there is enjoying the new take on the record.
Do you still have that acetate of the original?
No, I don't think I do.
I had to ask. I had to ask.
I don't think I do.
Geezer told me a couple of years ago he was celebrating Mob Rules, and he was telling me about the first record, same thing like Priest. It turned out to be so heavy because they ran out of time. They were still learning their instruments, but it is what it is. They released it, it changed the world. So, what do you think when people say that? You ran out of money, you were still trying to learn how to play, but it ended up being heavier.
Yeah. Well, that's a good story, you know. You see, we all go through it. Some you win, some you lose, you know. It's just whatever happens at the time for whatever reason, you know. But that's a good story.
Now, you guys were fighting with Gull Records for a long time for the rights of the first two records, correct?
Well, I think so. Um, but my recollection is, Tim, is that, you know, we did the two records with Gull, and and um, and it just got to the point where, you know, we weren't able to write, record, and play shows, you know, and do what we needed to do, because we were struggling to make ends meet, you know, to the point where we were all having to kind of do kind of part-time jobs,
Right.
you know, which was tough because, you know, if you had to jump in the van and go to Middlesbrough or Newcastle or, you know, Glasgow or somewhere that was a 3 or 4 hour drive, you know, to do a show, you couldn't possibly do it. So we said to Gull Records, could we get an allowance, you know, just a minimal amount of money to help us to pay the rent, at least. And they said no. And so we kind of went, what should we do? You know, because we're kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place. And so it just came about that we were able to contact Sony, and and they came down. We played some songs in front of Robin Blanchflower, I think his name, Robin, good guy. He said, we'll sign the band now.
Wow.
But we had a recording deal with Gull Records, which was a pretty harsh deal, to be fair. It
Sure.
was pretty brutal. So they said that they would take the band and record the band, and we went, fine. And I've got to be honest, I mean, we went from £2,000 advance per record to £60,000 advance per record.
Right.
And we said, we've got to do this.
Yeah.
The band needs this to happen. You know, this is what we need. a good company that believed in us, was willing to commit, you know, had the machinery and everything. So we just went. And so the lawyers just said that to Go Records, you know, let's do this. You keep the two records that you've got, but we move on to new territory. You know, this is what the band needs. They've got no option, and we need to move on. And kind of that's what happened, you know.
Did it surprise you that Gull Records actually kept those master tapes in pristine condition, that you could actually work with them and they weren't destroyed?
Well, we just got lucky because they're 2-inch master tapes, but the storage facility, lucky enough, that Gold utilised to store was top notch in fair play, so that they were in good enough condition to be able to at least play once and transfer them into Pro Tools to preserve them forever. So that's what we did.
Now, I'm sure you've been asked this many times. Why didn't a company like dispute this artwork? Like, how did you get away? Like, doesn't that blow your mind that Coca-Cola would say, fuck off, you're not using that?
Yeah, absolutely. But what I think was they were a big conglomerate. You know, they were thinking Judas Priest, Rocka Rolla. You know,
They're not
what
going
are
to go anywhere.
it's like now. To be honest, Tim, I could go into some workshop and make a Fender Strat or a Gibson SG, and no, but Fender and Gibson are not going to care less, and still until you start making, you know, selling a few thousand, maybe then it might make their ears prick up, you know. But until then, and so I think for that reason they kind of just left it alone, you know, and they have ever since, and so we'll see where it goes from here, but. I think that it was always going to be arguable, wasn't it? Coca-Cola, Rocka Rolla. It's not the same. You know, we have license to do certain things as we do in music, you know, audio and visuals. Uh, it's always going to be arguable.
It amazes me when I go to YouTube and way before MTV and that whole revolution, that bands actually thought of filming themselves and releasing videos in the 60s and the early 70s, like Judas Priest did. And I'm sure the BBC had something to do with that. So tell me about actually filming a video around that first record.
Well, yeah, I mean, with Rock and Roll, I don't think we've filmed anything really. I mean, it was just, it didn't enter the mind at the time, you know. I think in actual fact, I believe that we were one of the first bands really to ever do a conceptual video with Breaking the Law. You know, prior to that, our focus was really trying to appear on a television program like the BBC, you know, Top of the Pops or one of their weekly which we eventually did, you know. I think that one of the first things we ever did, we went into the BBC studios in London, and they had a program that went out just on radio, and some bands like us went into the studio and they would release a live recording sometime in the 70s, you know, and that was our focus because there was no MTV, there was no vehicles like that for us to use. Um, but then when this great outlet of MTV, uh, you know, or maybe a couple of outlets before that came about, then and only then were record labels um, happy to spend a lot of money to make these videos for bands. Of course, when we made the first one and we did a string of them with Hot Rocking and Living After Midnight and it just went on and on. Then how wonderful was that? You know, that's when it all began.
Just focusing a couple more questions on Rocka Rolla. Um, Dressing, costume designing, being influenced. Who dressed you guys? That's probably the easiest question.
ourselves, and that's the way that it went. And I guess really the trend back in the day was that each individual band member had the onus on them to create their own unique look and persona, you know. So collectively, we would look interesting and kind of eclectic and dark and whatever else it was, just to be appealing to the audiences, and that happened um, a lot. But there was a conglomerate of bands like progressive blues bands. Predominantly, they maybe were they a bit lazy, just wearing denims. I don't know, but like I say, it was kind of the thing to do to create your own image, and I guess that's what we kind of did, you know, and. But like I say, I mean, in the early days, Rocka Rolla, I had the fedora, the camel skin fedora, even though I had long blonde hair and people couldn't see my face anyway on stage. Just anything you could do to add to it, But back in the day, um, your girlfriend might, please, can you make me a pair of velvet trousers or a or a psychedelic shirt, and anything went, And it was like that right up in until about 76, 77. And I decided that's it. We all look a bit too, I mean, Rob's in this kind of big kind of cream outfit with a sash, and Glenn's got this green um, uh, silk and satin outfit, and Glenn, I mean, I'm thinking, let's just go black. And that's kind of well, that was my deal back then, with a leather stud and choker. And Rob started to do that as well. Me and Rob went to London, had some clothes made, and that was the start of it, really. And I was dead happy. And but the time British Steel came around, we were kind of all kind of done that look, and it definitely was a new world, a new day, and for all intents and purposes, new metal was born, and we just went that route and never looked back.
I can't think of a band in any genre or anything that literally, maybe not overnight, but just when you went to the leathers and the studs, like you changed the whole world. Every band fan on the planet went, "Oh my God, I need to dress like these guys."
Yeah, 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 it's true. And but it just because you see, I was going along from album to album, tour to tour, and I'm thinking something's just got to change here. I'm thinking the music doesn't really fit how we look, and how we look doesn't really fit the music. Something's got to change, and it did, and we never looked back.
Now, maybe the last question on rock roll here. Any mistakes on Rock Rolla when you go back and listen, you kind of go cringe and like, oh, I wish something was better there.
Um, no, but I think it was always in the early days. It was hard to capture the band live on a record, and we were always trying to do that. We were always trying to do that. And what album was the first album that we ever really, really did that to capture the energy and the power and everything we wanted to? Um, I think probably British Steel was maybe the first album that we all thought, yeah, this is the one, Um, but I'm not too sure. But certainly the first albums, it was kind of difficult because we all had to go into this big room and with partitions. So sometimes we couldn't see each other, but we could hear each other with the headphones. But we all had to play together, and we were all kind of nervous that if you made a mistake, that you'd be the idiot that made everybody start the song again. you know?
Right.
And if you started to notch these faults up, that you were the one that didn't have your shit together, then other people would start throwing things at you or say, kick him out the band, you know.
Exactly.
So it's hard to do that, but also at the same time, try to capture this like energy of the band on stage. Because let's face it, on stage, you can kind of get away with murder to an extent because it was all in a moment of time. You make a mistake and it's gone. But now, you know, everybody's there recording and, you
Yeah,
know, on their iPhones, you know, you've got to be careful not to do it, you know, with audio or visuals, you know. So, you know, you run out there, you can't slip on a banana skin and fall arse over a tit. And I've seen guys do that, and I've done it myself, you know. You know, I can remember being on the side of the stage one year, bless him, great singer, Sebastian Bach, comes running out, hello, download. You know, that was Metallica were headlining that year. Hello, download, and slipped like that because I think it had been raining and he just went flying, you know. But, you know, back then it's all gone in a moment of time. But like I say, so going back to the recordings, you know, that's what we were subjected to. So we were always trying to capture the band, how we felt playing live, you know, on the record. And that was always a quest, you know, that we needed to do.
is it tough to talk about this stuff when you're not in the band anymore?
No, it's great. It's still you're part of my life. I was there, you know, creating and enjoying the moment and all of these wonderful memories and experiences. Yeah, fantastic.
A couple of weeks ago, I woke up and I saw this press release about this final Black Sabbath show, and I thought it was like the biggest joke on the planet. I'm looking at the lineup, I'm going, I thought Woodstock had a great lineup for for that kind of music. And you're, and I found it interesting that Judas Priest is not invited, but you are.
Yeah, um, I'm I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be great. I mean, it's going to be the metal extravaganza in history, isn't it? Really. I mean, everybody in one place. I mean, it's a soccer stadium in Birmingham. Obviously, the guys in Black Sabbath are big Aston Villa fans, always have been. So it's great that metal's coming home, and we're all going to be there. Metallica, Guns N' Roses, just about everybody. So it's going to be a great get together. So I'm looking forward to playing some songs, and yeah, I know the whole thing. The tickets were really expensive, but sold out in 15 minutes. And it would have been. I was hoping that there would be a second day of the fair, but maybe not. You know, but it would be great if if Sharon could take this to at least New York and LA and maybe Berlin or somewhere in Europe. That would be fantastic. But I guess it's going to be live streamed, maybe. But that's a question mark. I'm not too sure. But hopefully,
And who approached you? Is it KK? Is it KK's Priest? And when was the last time you actually had any kind of interaction with Ozzy and or Sharon?
yeah. Well, I think the last time was when we did the Ozfest. Not
Right.
that not that long ago, but we did the Ozfest, and that was great. It was good. We got to hang out with the guys because they're all the guys in Black Sabbath are lovely people. They are really, you know, I'm not just saying that, they are salt of the earth people. They're really good guys. Great. And so yeah, I really enjoyed doing that. Glad that we did, but very much looking forward to doing this one. Um, it's going to be very, very special for sure. So, but yeah, so the guys from Live Nation called me and about that, and I'm talking to Tom Morello, who's very big part of putting this together as well. You know, Tom
Right.
from Rage Against the Machine. Tom's a lovely guy, and talking to Tom and some guys about rehearsals and the songs and stuff like that. So yeah, it's going to be cool. I'm ready. Let's go.
It's just like you've had such an incredible career to be part of this event just must just like blow your mind.
Yeah, it's going to be great. Yeah, yeah, it's going to be fab, and yeah, so lots of things happening, and it's not. I could be there in an hour.
Yeah, right, right. Do you have
I
a few
could be
more minutes? Do you have a couple more minutes?
sure. Yeah, I think so. My next what? Yeah, I'm good, mate. I'm good.
Okay, excellent. This is kind of the fun part of the interview that I launched about a year ago. And actually, I call it Brave Words Rapid Fire. So just kind of left field questions, such as, and the first one, some people like, oh, don't ask me questions about songs, but what is your favorite song on British Steel?
No, that's a good question. I don't know because I like them all. Obviously, they're all my babies, and but let me think. Um, I love them all, but like I say, I think on the last two we were playing some songs. I was playing. Did we play The Rage? I can't remember. But we definitely played Rapid Fire. I think we opened with that. That was killer. So I love that. And but I think uh, yeah, I like them all really. Break the Law, Live It After Midnight. Love The Rage. Love doing that. Um, yeah, not sure, mate. I couldn't pin it down to one.
It's tough. I know, tough first question. But I remember when you came to Toronto on that anniversary tour, and I was able to see Steeler for the first time, and I still have bruises from that grand finale on that record. What a
Right?
heavy tune.
Did we do that?
You
Yeah,
did
cool.
you did the whole record. You did the whole album.
Oh, did we?
Yeah, 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 you did. So you played The Rage. So Ian was able to instead
Did
of
we?
yeah, yeah, you did. You played every song on it. Yeah.
Oh, wow. Did we really?
Don't worry, we're all getting old.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I'm so pleased we did that. Wonderful. I'll have to go back and check it out on YouTube.
KK, when was the moment that you decided that music was your life and that's what I'm doing?
I think I was 17, I guess. I had my first guitar when I was 16, but by the time I was 17, going on 18, I managed to be in a couple of bands, pop bands, playing weddings and stuff. And I think at one point I was in through, I, maybe by the time I was 19, I think I was in three bands. And and uh, and I'm thinking I can make this work, and I'm thinking I'm gonna make this work, whatever happens. So around about then I think, because I'd long since given up working. That's all I was doing was the music thing.
Right.
But it seemed to be accelerating at a fast rate of knots because I was like writing songs as well by then.
Who is your rock star or metal god?
Definitely Jimi Hendrix. Everybody knows that because I saw Jimmy when I was 16, and I was totally blown away. And I just thought, this is very colourful, and it's also blowing my eardrums out. I'm thinking, this is what I want to do.
Wow.
I want to be that colourful guy making people's ears bleed.
And you did it.
Yeah.
You did it. Have you ever asked for an autograph?
From Jimmy.
No, just from anybody.
Yeah, I get Jimmy's autograph a couple of times. Yeah.
Okay.
I got his autograph at when he played the Isle of Wight in 1970, and I got his autograph when he played the Royal Albert Hall. He played two shows there. Was that? That was probably a couple of years before. Um, not too sure. So yeah, but I was a autograph hunter. Yeah, I would get everybody's autograph as much as I could.
Oh, wow, cool. Very cool. What do you think about this vinyl craze as we talk about the vinyl? And what was your first vinyl purchase as a kid? Do you remember?
Probably, it was probably, probably John Mayall's Blues Breakers, I think. I think it might have been Hard Road. I'm not sure which album that might have been. But I didn't have much, I didn't have enough money to buy vinyls. We just used to, but I used to go around people's houses to listen to their records, you know. But when I did start to get a bit of money, obviously I would buy. I certainly bought Are You Experienced as soon as that came out. I can remember buying that. That was probably one of the first vinyls, if not, may have even been the first vinyl, I think, you know.
Wow. It's a good first vinyl, that's for sure.
Yeah, yeah,
Right? What
yeah.
album do people talk to you most about? What Judas Priest album do people talk to you most about?
Probably the Painkiller album, maybe. I think, you know, I think like say if there's no promotion going on with any of the records, I think in the interim periods a lot of it is um, probably Painkiller.
There's two moments in heavy metal history where a band brought in a brand new drummer, and the first song was like in the first Where Eagles Dare would be the first with Nico, and Painkiller when you brought Scott in.
Yeah, I think with the Painkiller album, you know, and I've got to say that people don't realize this, but that album was not as successful as we would have liked it to have been straight away. There was a lot of things happening about that time, wasn't there, Tim? There was a lot of things going on. I think Painkiller was probably a bit of a stretch for a lot of traditional Priest fans, you know, that real, you know, whether it's, I think, you know, that it might have been a step forward towards what, you know, the heavier side of metal for a lot of fans. Um, but for a lot of things that were happening at that time, I mean, because I know we went out there and we took out Pantera, and they were just playing small clubs at the time. Nobody knew who they were.
Right.
Um, you know, but there was a transitional period in metal that was between Painkiller and everything else. I think, you know, um, Pantera, Megadeth, and so many other bands, you know, so-called new metal, you
Right.
know.
Right.
Um, so I think it might have been a touch too much for a lot of traditional Priest fans, but as time went on, they realised that Painkiller, compared to a lot of other bands, wasn't as edgy as, you know what I mean, wasn't as, you know, because there was so many things, new metals coming on, you know, death metal, speed metal, industrial metal, so many alternative metal styles that made Painkiller almost seem, uh, you know, a touch too light for a lot of the new metal fans. But as time went on, obviously the Painkiller album became very much revered as a groundbreaker.
Yeah,
You know,
absolutely. Yes.
so but we always say when you release an album, chances are 9 times out of 10 it's going to be a bit too soon or a bit too late. It's very rare that you get the timing for a record exactly right, you know. And when did Judas Priest get a record that was exactly right for the time? Maybe British Steel.
Or this
Uh,
one.
and which one's that one? I can't see the rest of the shirt.
Screaming. It's not
And, and and maybe you're absolutely right. I think Screaming for Vengeance may have been another. This is the right time. This is the right record, and it's the right time because that was the band's biggest ever selling record.
yeah, yeah. Now you're talking to a fan that's based in Southern Ontario, and I was at that CNE show when Rob came out on his bike and he got knocked off, and then he left the band. What are your memories from that night? Or do you want to even think about it?
That was a horrible moment, really. But for the fans that don't know, it was it's a big outdoor venue, and from the stage to the dressing rooms is a car ride, you know. And
Yeah,
it
exactly.
started off. The first car went with Rob and I forget who else, and the rest of us. Well, we couldn't find the car keys for start off, and we were late getting in the car anyway.
Okay.
And so we got to the. They started the intro tape when when we were driving to the stage, and of course we didn't get to the stage in time because these stairs in the middle, a set of stairs in the middle of the stage would kind of rise up, and then Rob rode the motorbike out onto the stage, but the stairs didn't go high enough, and Rob drove out and collided with the stairs and knocked himself out. By this time, we got the guitars, we went on stage, the dry ice and smoke, and we didn't know Rob was on the stage. We was flat out. So we played the first song without any vocals. And so it was
I I don't mean to laugh, but it's a
it's,
Spinal
it's,
Tap moment, right?
it's an absolute Spinal Tap moment, etched in stone. But to Rob's credit, he just picked himself up, dusted himself off, and performed the gig, and that was the last gig for 14 years with Rob and Judas Priest.
Yeah. Wow. Crazy. Crazy history. Focus obviously is Judas Priest, but even with this Ozzy thing, they had to dial it back, and Ozzy might not be able to play the whole show, or I don't know, just fingers crossed that everything ends up right.
I think if Ozzy can be there and just be there, then that's going to be absolutely great because Robbie, Ozzy can still speak and he speaks well. I've seen some recent clips, so we just want Ozzy to be there, and just come and if you can get up there and let it rip, on a few songs, that'd be awesome.
I can't thank you enough. I'm so happy for you. You look really happy. Your energy is just like, wow, crazy. You've been such a soundtrack to my life. You really have. So thank you so much for everything. And
Man,
hopefully we cross paths again.
and a big hello and a big goodbye to all of the fans out there. Stay tuned for KK's Priest. We'll be around, play some more shows for you guys, and rock out. So we look forward to seeing everybody real soon. And thanks to you, Tim, and BraveWords as always. You guys are great. Keep flying the flag of metal, and we'll meet up again soon.
Awesome. Awesome.
Okay, Tim.
Take care, man.
See you, buddy. Take care,
Okay.
mate. Thanks for
Okay.
being a
Bye-bye.
fan.